All right. Let us start go.
All right, my man.
Here we are. We're back.
So today is it's a special one.
Yeah.
For many ways, probably one of the deepest one we'll get into.
Which is why we came to a different setting.
Yeah.
Out here.
So we talk a little bit about the significance of the 17th, and it's something that we both share for different but similar reasons.
Yeah. Again, you say like nothing happens there's no coincidences, right?
Yeah.
And I think that in tackling this podcast, doing them in 17-minute intervals, our audience potentially doesn't know why we've chosen that, and I think that it's important for them to understand that there is something bigger that brings us together as well.
Yes, sir.
That's what this podcast is going to be about today.
Yeah. So as some of you may know, our daughters were both diagnosed with cancer right around the same time, and had two really tough fights ahead of them. So I guess I'll start. Yeah, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line here is that we met each other when our kids were in treatment.
Yeah.
We had different paths, but they merged together on 3/17. So let's talk about it.
Yes. So Lauren was diagnosed with leukemia in 2015 in February, and leukemia is that cancer is a different from many because you go into remission pretty quickly. So about a month and a few weeks later, there was no cancer shown in her blood. So on St. Patrick's Day, 3/17, she was declared in remission. It was just the start of our journey because, like I said, leukemia is a little bit different. So although you go into remission really quickly, the treatment's actually a lot longer.
Right.
So she was in remission almost over a month after we got diagnosed, or she got diagnosed, and then had treatment for about 2.5 years. So, we look at that day as a very significant day. To us, it didn't signify the end of her treatment at all in any way.
Right.
It just said, hey, there's no indication of any cancer cells in her body right now.
And as we get into it here, you and I, again, being reflective people, I think as more years passed, the date becomes more, I feel like more and more significant.
Sure.
Right?
No doubt.
So for us, Mia was diagnosed with a form of cancer called rhabdomyosarcoma on March 16th, 2016. And rhabdomyosarcoma is a form of soft tissue sarcoma. It started as a tumor in her cheek that we noticed sometime it was actually in the beginning of February 2016 that we noticed it. And like anything else, you go through a whole bunch of different processes to try to figure out what's going on. You go through the system of doctors, and it was finally diagnosed on March 16th after biopsies and things like that. Mia had a 364-day fight with cancer. Unfortunately, we lost her on March 17th, 2017. So that date is significant for us as a family because it's our opportunity to celebrate her life. It's significant for, I think, a lot of people that knew her because it's an opportunity for them to celebrate her life on that day as well. St. Patrick's Day has always been a great holiday for me. I've always enjoyed myself on those days. So if I had to choose a holiday to commemorate my daughter, I love that it's that day. So yeah, I mean, that's the gloss over of why the 17th is so significant. And, for us, the day leading up to Mia's passing in January of 2016, or excuse me, January of 2017, I'm a running coach, and one of my athletes had developed these bracelets. They were called the Make It Amazing bracelets, Mia, MIA, Make It Amazing. And she created them as a form of catharsis for herself because, I'm a transparent human, and every one of my athletes knew my kids because they would come around to track meets, and Mia was always running around, and they all knew what we were going through too. So they wanted to support us in different ways. So they created these bracelets. She came up with the saying for it, and immediately it was like, wow, this is it. It became our anthem from January to March during some of the darkest times as the cancer spread all throughout Mia's body. So, it's a significant word for us. And it was something that initially we took as a family and used and called the 17th Make It Amazing Day on the first anniversary of her passing, because we wanted to celebrate, not just celebrate her life, but celebrate our family. And that's I think that's the thing that as we continue talking here, and we've talked about this before, so we're going to try to make this as natural as possible, but it's
so awkward to talk. So the truth is that this is a really hard conversation.
Yeah.
I don't know how it is for you, but for me, it's always been a hard conversation.
Yeah.
The 17th, we celebrate it we celebrate the same way.
Right.
We celebrate the same way.
I think that's the realization we had yesterday
Yeah,
as we were
which is
talking about this, which is crazy.
We should have recorded that. I'm telling you, we should have recorded that when I was a mess a little bit. Yeah, I was a little bit of a mess yesterday, but we celebrate it the same way.
Right.
And for a long time, I'm going to be honest, I thought it was for different reasons.
Right.
It was really hard, and this is just me, and I might get emotional here. It's already welling. I feel it.
Good.
There was a very long time that it was really hard for my family to celebrate that. Because we didn't want it to be perceived as, I don't know what the word,
selfish or gloating or
yeah, gloating.
Those are the wrong words, but
gloating, like maybe almost a survivor's guilt.
Right.
I don't know if that's what it actually is, but that's the closest term that I could think of in this moment.
Yeah.
And it was really hard to celebrate that because it wasn't a gloat, because I know that you rooted for Lauren as much as I rooted for Mia.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And we still root for the families that we interact with.
Amen.
You know.
Right. Hard. I tell people all the time, I can't wait to not have to do this anymore.
I
know. But for a long time, it was really hard to share that. And I think, just yesterday, literally yesterday, we had that revelation. It's like, no, I think we're actually celebrating for the same exact reasons.
Right. And the conversation came from an exploration of values, you know, like what are the values of Make It Amazing Day for you and for me, you know? And I think that there's a lot that comes, and I know you're understanding this the same way I am now too, as we've had good and tough conversations about this, that when you relinquish a little bit of ownership for something, it can yield some really amazing things. And there's a part of me that wants to own Make It Amazing Day. Like, no, it's for my daughter. And I think as I've gotten that selfishness is something that I think comes early in grief, because you're angry, you know, like you're mad at the world. Little words trigger you, you know, and transparently, anytime I'd see someone talking about like blessings that their child is still there, my comment back is, well, then we're not blessed, you know, or you get into that process of like beating cancer, and I'm like, well, Mia beat it, you know, but I don't like talking about it like that. I think in our exploration of conversations that are about those words, that's where like that element of guilt, or not, the element of grief that's connected to anger is still there. But when you have a breakthrough like we did yesterday, when we were talking about the values of the holiday, and how you're just talking about how, you know, Make It Amazing Day applies to what you guys do. It's exactly what you do. It just potentially was just labeled differently, or you viewed it differently. Now you're not a part of my story. We're a part of a story, you know? And I think that's what Live Free is growing into now too, you know?
And that was part of the conversation yesterday. It's a movement that's transcending why the why, not the why, because the why is always important, but I don't know, it's just transcending us.
It's not our whys anymore.
It's everyone's whys, right?
Correct.
It's everyone's whys. And it's interesting because Katrina had come up to me years ago and was like, you know, should Live Free do a Make It Amazing Day? Because she saw it back then.
I know.
And I not that I dismissed her, but I was like, but that's their thing.
Yeah.
Right. And even though we're doing the same thing, like that's their thing. And you know, I don't want to encroach on what they're doing. Right. And then when we were talking about how we're going to share this message on the 17th this year, not just in this podcast, but the general messaging of Live Free, you were like, hey, let's come up with an acronym or a hashtag. And I couldn't.
Right.
I couldn't. And then I had the breakthrough, because I want to share this with them. And I know we keep looking at the clock and it's already almost 10 minutes. I don't care. I don't care about 17 today. I don't care. This is important. This is important. When you asked me like, hey, let's, what do you celebrate with Lauren? Like, give me something about Lauren that we celebrate. And I struggled, and it bothered me that I struggled. I'm being honest with you. Right? I really struggled with it. I struggled that I couldn't come up with what we celebrate. Obviously, we're happy that she's healthy now.
Right.
Obviously that goes without saying, but we don't necessarily celebrate Lauren on that day. That's not, that day for us is not about Lauren. It's about all of us. It's about what we all went through. It's about family and cherishing moments with family and pausing to recognize that, like you do on Thanksgiving. You stop and you give thanks. It's no different for us. Like, we pause and we say, wow, we really went through something. We had a great support system.
Right.
But this is about us, and it's about our support system too.
Yeah.
And further, I was really happy that breakthrough came out. So got the breakthrough. So when you asked me about what we celebrate Lauren, it was like, no, man, I struggled. And then I called you later and I was like, we don't celebrate Lauren, man. Like, we celebrate the idea of what cancer gave us. Right. And what cancer gave us was perspective.
Amen.
And I know we talked about the word blessing because I said it in that word. I used the word blessing, and it's not blessed about Lauren being here. We talk about joy in trauma and hope in trauma, but there's also blessings within it, man. And that blessing that we were given was the perspective of how important life with family, how much family matters, and just time together with family matters.
Yes. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. And again, I feel when you break down what we do as a family to celebrate, make it amazing day, it is literally the same thing. We are there celebrating life. We're celebrating ourselves being together. We're celebrating that, we're not just weathering the traumas that have happened in our lives. We are still thriving. And yes, present tense, physically, Nia is not with us in those instances, but it keeps her alive she's alive for us all the time, present tense, always. And that's not me saying, I walk around saying like, oh yeah, my daughter's upstairs. That's not what I'm talking about. She continues to grow with me as I continue to grow. The influence she's had on my life is tremendous. And I see the influence she has in James's life. And now as we have Miles, who never knew her, he still calls me his sister, and it makes me happy to know that we have kind of fostered that a little bit. Now, of course, he's 5, and there's going to be some hard conversations that come up, but I think they're the right people to have those conversations.
This is the part where I well up again. I see her within you every day, bro. I got a pretty cool perspective over here. So it's another one of those blessings, I guess, that we talk about with the work we do. But I see her every day. I do, my man. I need you to know that.
It's amazing. And again, these are some of the things that help me grow too.
I got to this.
Actively grieve and actively attempt to continue to move forward. Because I think that anybody who's lost anybody who might be watching this understands that the grieving process never ends, and unfortunately while life is about addition, it's also about subtraction. And unfortunately, that's the balance that we have. And you have to learn to cope with that. We had a conversation a couple of days ago about like the concept of finding the blessings from loss and our own personal growth that we've had since our children have gone through this. And I think that was an intense conversation for me because I would not be the human being I am right now had I not lost my daughter. And it hurts to say that, if I could rewind, I would hope that there's no doubt in me that I would love for her to be a freshman in high school right now, and dealing with the drama that I have to deal with, having a ninth grader. But she has offered so much in her passing, that has been a lot to deal with as a human. I talked to you yesterday about how in working through the grief of losing her, I also had to come to the point where you looked at any romanticized parental perspective, you laid on your life for your kid, you know, as somebody who had cancer, they found, cancer in my lungs because we did genetic testing after Mia passed, right? To see if there was a predisposition, because we've said this, you don't ask why while you're in treatment. You just are doing what and how. And I went in for a scan and they found markers and, removed my thyroid, removed the thing on my lung. And, I wanted to be the person to kind of trade myself in those situations to be able to bring her. But, you have to keep moving forward. You have to take each thing as a different thing, and try to decipher what it is that, your calling, your purposes. And again, this is something also that we talk about a lot. This has everything to do with who I am as a person, that throughout all of this, the thing that I feel so blessed to have is a desire to still feel called to help and support more.
I've encountered thousands of families now, man. Maybe not thousands, but definitely high hundreds. And there's not many that do. It's a select few. And there's no right way to grieve and to move forward. But it takes a lot of courage to do what you're doing too, man.
Action in the face of fear. Yeah. It's the definition of courage, and it's not easy every day, as we prepare for Make It Amazing Day this year. 3 days ago, I was standing in the shower and, I was washing my left arm. My left arm is tattooed from, all the way up here. I did that. I chose my left arm because I was holding Mia's left hand when she passed away. And just in the shower, washing my arm, I was like brought right back to that moment. And that's something that everyone will see someone pass at some point in their life. And the moment was awful. It was awful. But my wife was directly across from me holding her right hand. I was holding her left hand. There's no scenario when I think back to the days, the couple weeks we spent in knowing that there was nothing we could do and just being there comforting her during those 2 weeks, cartwheeling back and forth to the apartment with James and bringing people in to see her, that like it was beautiful that the two of us were there. And I appreciate that balance. But there are days where it takes the air out of me completely to go back to that moment and to feel that moment again. So we have all these pictures and memories from like March, the end of February, all the way to March 17th from 8 years ago. And we just watch it getting, worse and worse and worse and worse, but still, hanging with her baby cousin Brandon, feeding him a bottle in her bed, like playing the game of life and talking about like, when you win life at the end, it's you go off into the retirement that you get, how she's cheering on and she's like, oh, I got twins this time, and how painful that is in memory, but also how beautiful those times were. And those are the things that propel us into Make It Amazing Day. That I told you, like, we have yet to spend a Make It Amazing Day at the cemetery with her, and some people might scoff at that, but like I go see her all the time. I don't need an occasion to see her. We get to go and live her expanded life,
sure,
as we go out and do things. So
yeah,
I think it'd be cool to kind of highlight some of the things that you've done, because this is a big year for you guys. This is 10 years.
Yeah.
10 years it's of being in remission.
Yeah. Well, I want to start with that. It's and you and I had this conversation too. We talk about the word survivor and we talk about beat and we talk about all these words when it comes to, Lauren finishing her treatment.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't love the word. I don't love those words. Right. And because we live in a constant state of fear. Like that's one of the things that people don't, and this is not I'm not trying to be like, oh, poor us. That's that's not where I'm going. But when she gets bruises on her legs from playing lacrosse, which are normal, like we get nervous. Yeah. Those were the signal moments, right? Those were the things that brought us back. And there's always that. But 10 years is it's very significant. It's very significant for her, right? But for our family, 10 years of really understanding how important time here and how fragile time here is, right? Time is fragile. There's a song that I love by Motion City Soundtrack called Time Turned Fragile. And it's exactly what it is. During that moment, my time was turned fragile.
Yeah.
It's what it is. And it's fragile for everyone. We're not special in that case, right?
Right.
But we really go out and we just want to enjoy ourselves, and we just want to do what we want to do,
Right.
and pause everything else. Don't take phone calls. Don't look at emails. This year we're going to Dream Water Park. It's the first time that we're actually incorporating some friends, Armando and Lauren's friends. We'll see how that goes. I don't know. They're getting up to that age, or 11 and 12-year-olds, where they want to be around friends a little bit.
Of course.
Soon it'll be, they don't want to be around mom and dad anymore, but,
they have to learn familial lessons themselves when they want to start something on their own.
Yeah. We don't typically do anything extravagant,
right?
Because family time is not always, most times it's not extravagant and a big thing. Most times they're small, right? We just try to stay true to the mission.
Yeah.
With Live Free too. But this year we're going to the water park. And that's going to be the second year that we've done that.
Okay.
We typically go and spend some time in the city. The city just has a very vitalizing, like, it's high energy and things constantly moving. But we pause in that chaos. It's actually kind of deep.
Well, it's a test of what you're doing as well, whether you mean to or not. Whether you can pause in chaos.
Yeah. And then dinner usually ends at one of Lauren's favorite restaurants called Mecha Noodle Bar. That's been a tradition for us on our way back from. It's typically the city that we do. We're really excited about it this year. Yeah,
that's great.
How about you? What do you guys?
So, I mean, this is 8 years for us since Mia's passing, and one of my best friends reached out to me, and his mother has a condo up at Smuggler's Notch, and that invited us to use the condo. So we're going to head up to Smuggler's Notch up in Vermont, which has some meaning for us to revisit Vermont, because right after Mia passed away, Marion, my wife's stepsister, gave us her house in Stowe, and we went up there for, I think it was 4 or 5 days. It was all blur. It was some time just to get away and go up there. So James is excited to go up and go back up in that area. Smuggler's Notch is right on the backside of Stowe. So it'll be fun to go up there and ski and have some fun, and just kind of let the boys do what they want to do. We'll play some fun games. We do little things that, remind us of Mia, that are still part of our daily life anyway. Like, we'll buy a bunch of like little toys and let them open them up and, have some fun with them. Celebrate family time together. We don't intentionally isolate ourselves. My buddy Casey lives up there. We hope to see him while we're up there. I haven't seen him in a while, and it'd be good to see his family and hang with him for a little bit, but also do our own thing. We've done big things. Like the first year that Mia passed away, we went to spring training. It was something I'd always wanted to do as a kid, go see the Red Sox. And we have some amazing people in our life who reached out to the Red Sox on our behalf, and we didn't ask for it, it just happened. And we got a private tour of the facility there. James got to hang up the score on the scoreboard. So that was a bigger one. That was a lot of fun. But James remembers most like playing 10 rounds of mini golf, while we were down there. So again, that's a good reflective point for us. It's like, okay, let's just do this. Yeah. Other highlight years, we got to see Aladdin. That was our Live Free trip that we got to do. Went out to a steak dinner with James. That was when Marin was pregnant with Miles. And then we've done other things. We rented a house during COVID in Connecticut, right by a lake, a beautiful home that, we got to have some fun in and play some games. We did our Mia Kahoot, and Marion made fun, and it was all this like trivia about her and, remembering things. It was really cool. Rented a house in Rhode Island once that had an indoor pool. Folks came and hung out there. And again, most of these, short of the Aladdin trip, are things that we save up for. Like it, and it's it's nice to save up for it because we really are saving up for a trip that's meaningful to us. And yeah, the kids come out of school on the days, Marion skipped school. I skipped school previously. I'm not going to be in work for the days that we're there. But
Me either.
yeah, in the end, they've been amazing parts of our life that the boys look forward to. Like starting in like December, sometimes we start scheming about what we're gonna do. It's like, look how much money we've saved. What do you want to do? And again, I feel blessed this year because Casey's mom is giving it to us. And I'm glad that she sees me as an adult now, not the rapscallion that was 15, 16 years old, corrupting her son in Cape Cod in high school.
That's funny you talk about looking forward. Our kids have they've been doing a countdown for the last like 4 days. It's
great.
It's been cool, right?
It's awesome.
Yeah, we're really excited. So I know we're over.
Yeah.
Like I said, it is
good.
what it is. This is really important for everyone to see.
Yeah.
I do want to make a declaration. I know that you and I have talked about this.
Love it.
And it's really important to live free. And it's something that, again, Katrina, she's my wife. She was right again. But I want to make it right or go back to that. And I want to declare the 17th of March to be Make It Amazing Day for Live Free in Perpetuity.
That's amazing.
And I have some really cool ideas for what we're going to do in the future with that.
Yeah,
I don't want it to just be about my family and your family. I want it to be about everyone's family. I want everyone to go out and just make it amazing.
Yes.
Like intentionally
for themselves. Find your family and do it. If you want to explain why, you can, but make it your own why. Hopefully 10 years from now, you'll be able to reflect back on where it started and what you've done. Mark a day. And why not St. Patrick's Day? Why not March 17th?
St. Patrick's Day is the best day.
Yeah. And I mean, again, it's a day where you can do all sorts of things to make it amazing.
Very good. So man, this was an in-depth one. And I know that we're going to get even deeper in some of these. That was pretty deep. I don't know if we can actually get deeper, but I think we will. And I appreciate you sharing your story.
Same.
It's important to really understand where people are coming from and why they do what they do. So I hope that you have an amazing, Make It Amazing Day, you and your whole family.
Same to you, brother. And I hope everybody else does. Happy Make It Amazing, though.
Bye.